Why is the RX 350 so popular? It's probably time we dug into this a little bit. The RX 350 has been the top seller not only in the Lexus lineup since its inception in the 90s, but also in the luxury midsize SUV market. I mean, when you compare the sales numbers to some of the competitors, it's not just our bread and butter, it's our bread, butter, and gravy when you think about it. And I've always been asked, why is the RX so successful and continues to be so successful? And there's really many factors to think about. I mean, the latest RX 350 that you see beside me here, there's technically 13 variations of the same car. Meaning, even if someone's budget is $60,000, or if someone's willing to spend $85,000, there's chances are there is an RX for you. And even the RX 350 Turbo, which is what we call the regular RX 350, the non-hybrid one, we have, in Canada at least, the premium package, which is the entry level. We have the luxury package, which used to be sort of the mid-level, but now comes with a ton of equipment like panel roofs and things like that. Then you have the ultra luxury package, which adds some tech to that luxury, and the executive, which is the fully loaded one beside me. But underneath that same RX 350 Turbo, we have a whole other lineup of RXs, the F Sport 1, the F Sport 2, and the F Sport 3. And usually when I'm talking about these to guests, I'll start off by making that divide as early on as I can. Because when you look at those two sets of packages, you don't have to sacrifice features for style. So if someone likes the features of a luxury RX, but loves the styling of the F Sport variation, because maybe the wheels or the grille or the seats, you don't have to make a sacrifice. You could just go with an F Sport 1 or an F Sport 2, depending on your price point. And even the F Sport 3 and the Executive are pretty much the same feature list vehicle, however, just packaged different. So whether you're a older Lexus owner who's had, one every couple years for the last 30 years, or if you're a young professional that's getting their first Lexus and they want something a little sportier, chances are there's something in that RX Turbo range. Now, we also have the RX 350h. So that one, we just have, our premium, our luxury, our ultra luxury, our executive. We don't have any F Sports in the 350h range, but you now can get that hybrid regular gas powertrain that's super smooth and great on gas. But let's say you wanted a hybrid that is a sport as well. Lexus came out with the highly anticipated, in my mind, RX 500h, which gave you the F Performance 2 and the F Performance 3. And here's a beast of an SUV that's gonna cost you around $85,000 Canadian, but that has over 400 torque, tons of features, tons of power, big brakes, all of these high performance things packaged in a very nice and still pretty affordable RX, packaging. So a big part of it, in my opinion, is the marketing and variations of how many boxes you can check with an RX. Whether you're a 25-year-old, dental assistant or something like that, there's an RX for you. Even if you're a family of 5 that needs an SUV, there's probably an RX for you. And of course, the older generation of Lexus owners, there's an RX for you too. But enough about the marketing. There's more to it. Think about this. At the time of filming this video, you can find on AutoTrader in Canada that a 2016 RX 350 is still selling for 30 grand. That's the average market price of the RX 350. Now, when you think about it, that car is almost 9 years old, and it only started around the $60,000 range when it was new. And most of them were probably like $67,000 for like the F2, the F Sport Series 2 and the luxury packages. So why is it that the RX has such great resale value? I mean, even this one beside me, right now, we're selling for $72,500 and it's fully loaded. So does that mean in 9 years, it's still gonna be worth 30 grand? To put in perspective, even the competitors, which I won't say any names, but if you look up some of the high-end luxury German competitors, you'll find that on average for 2016, you're gonna see them for sale around the 24 range, maybe around the $20,000 range. And $6,000 to $10,000 difference is a big deal when those cars started higher than the RX. So why is that? Well, it's simple. Reliability is a big part of it. When a car has a life cycle or a lifespan of a set amount of time, the closer you get to that set amount of time, the less money it's gonna be worth. With the RX, we've never had big, high horsepower engines and big expensive moving parts. We've always used things like a Toyota engine that's been tried and true, that classic 3.5 liter V6 that was in almost everything in the Toyota lineup at the time, from Camrys to Highlanders to Siennas. And Lexus started incorporating that in our ES350s, our RX350s, and then even some other V6s in our IS and RC lineup. So what we came up with was a very tried and true power plant with a very tried and true powertrain, so even the transmission and things like that. And because of that, people knew what they were gonna get. They knew that it was gonna go as long as they needed it to go for. I've even seen that older powertrain go up to like 800,000 kilometers. And because we didn't try to reach for the stars, it was a very reliable and low maintenance cost, low to maintain SUV in the luxury world, where some of the competitors had a high maintenance cost. And this was more like maintaining a Toyota instead of a luxury vehicle. But that's not all. Inside, we have layers and layers of high material craftsmanship. And the reason that's so important is the interior is where the owner spends most of their time, meaning it's a very important part of the car. And with the RX, we always found an ample amount of usable space, so you never felt claustrophobic in any of the models, even back before that redesign in 2016. And the materials of the dashboard, the seats, and even some of the bezels and trim pieces are always high quality. We have different soft touch leathers, we have ultra suedes in the newer models, a very nice classy wood grain, and of course, for many years, the classic Lexus clock that was in the center. And because of that, the driving experience, although critics online will say it was numbing or not invigorating in any way, but it wasn't pretending to be, and it still isn't pretending to be, except for the RX 500h. And in most of the RXs, what you'll find is a smooth, comfortable, and quiet ride. Whether you like to crank the Mark Levinson sound system and sing at the top of your lungs, or if you're one of those people that have no radio playing and you just want to be alone with your thoughts. Both of those types of buyers will find themselves at home in the RX. And now, with the newer models, we find ourselves on that sort of the leading edge of technology, where we were always on the trailing edge, to use an aviation term. And what I mean by that is now we have things like wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, connected services, connected technology, and most importantly, and I can't stress this enough, the RX 350, you don't have to pay any extra for safety features. So things like proactive driving assist, things like lane centering assist, pre-collision systems, radar cruise controls, all those things, you don't have to pay extra for because it's standard, because Lexus decided we're gonna make safety standard in these cars. So for the average buyer, as they're going around comparing different brands and models, they come across the RX. And here is a car that's smooth to drive, quiet, luxurious feeling on the inside. The styling on the outside is very, very attractive, especially in the F-Sports, if you ask me. And also financially reliable, low maintenance costs, and at an affordable price point, it made it a no-brainer for everybody. And then we found ourselves with a very usable mid-sized space in the back. Here's something that you could have a couple sets of golf clubs, a couple kids in the back seats. You could fold down those rear seats for those oversized Costco runs. And when you look at the rear of the RX, here's a car that, again, most of the time costs $70,000 on average, something like that, but looks like it should be well over $100,000. And that's something that we forget to talk about sometimes when we're talking about luxury vehicles, and that is the presence they have on the road. And some people will say that, is it just a badged Toyota with a Lexus emblem on it? And I think Lexus has done a pretty good job of diverting from the Toyota roots. So it's like we learned the reliability and the production methods of Toyota and took it up a notch to make it a Lexus. And even though people will argue this on the internet, if you see someone pull up in a Lexus, usually you don't think that that's just a fancy Toyota. Usually the word Lexus has some meaning behind it. And I even have one of my favorite guests tell me that it improved his business because when he would pull up to a client's house or business, he would pull up in his Lexus, which automatically took him a level up. And I've heard some realtors say the same thing. So if you ask me, why is the RX so popular and has continued to be so popular? Well, it's not the easiest question to answer. Styling, reliability, amazing resale value, and great bang for your buck without having to sacrifice anything else means anybody who's car shopping, even if it's for a small SUV, will find themselves at least considering the midsize RX 350 or a 500h. And based on recent sales numbers over the last couple of years, I would say most of them found what they were looking for in the one behind me.